I once fucked a guy who screamed we did it Reddit, when he came. Not including my mom. What are some of the worst sex you've ever had? During my first one-night stand, I made a throwaway joke about handcuffs. This, naturally, led to her breaking into convulsing sobs and going into a gut-wrenching 20-minute tale about how her stepfather would tie her up and molest her. She ended up reading her favorite children's books until she peacefully fell asleep. I had a Red Bull earlier, was young, dumb, and nervous and didn't want to get too tired, so I then just played Angry Birds next to her until 4 a.m. And that's the story of my first one-night stand. When I lost my virginity, I was so nervous my dick went soft like 30 seconds in, and I tried to hide it by going down on her. I, unfortunately, was not aware of how oral sex worked yet either, so I just stuck my tongue in the hole and she was like, "That's not how you do it." Good times. He had a huge one. He did not move at all or even make a noise. If I wanted to fuck myself with a 9-inch dildo I could have stayed at home. He got off, I did not. Went to her place, she put SpongeBob on in the background and wanted me to do her on the couch. I couldn't stay hard because of SpongeBob's laugh, and when I asked to turn it off she said, "It stays on or you leave." I left. I was going down on this uncut guy. His foreskin hadn't really retracted, so I sort of used my mouth to push it down and get to work. But once it was pushed back, I felt something bumpy on my tongue, and his dick tasted awful. So I pulled off, and his dick head was covered in white crud. And now I know what dick cheese tastes like. Because apparently, a 27-year-old man doesn't know how to whiz himself. I was with a woman who hadn't had sex in 3 years and only used a curved dildo, and she tried to fuck like that. My dick is not a boomerang. I picked a girl up at a pub after she told me I looked gay. I told her I'm not and I'd prove it to her. She mentions a couple of times that I look like the American Idol singer Scotty McCreery. I had no idea who that was and didn't care. Her place wasn't far from the pub, so we set off walking. She kept stopping me mid-stride to attack my face with hers. It was sloppy and not at all attractive. When we get to her place she tells me to put on some music while she goes to freshen up. I open up her iTunes and call out to her asking if she has any RHCP. She shrieks and says they're her favorite band. I find them and she only has 5 songs by them, 3 of which are Scar Tissue. I create a playlist and put it on repeat. She comes in and we get right to it. I don't have a condom with me, idiot, so she insists that I fuck her in the ass. I oblige, and after a few minutes, she reaches under her bed and pulls out a cowboy hat. She puts it on me, and then says, "Sing to me, Scotty." I didn't know what to do, so I just kept fucking her. Kept the hat on, but didn't sing. I finished up, went to the toilet, and cleaned my cock. I walked back to her bedroom to hear Scar Tissue playing again for the millionth time and gathered my things and left. Never saw her again. Threesome with 2 women. I was 20, 6 feet, and about 145 pounds. I'm a guy, yeah. I know. They were the mid-20s, similar height, and easily double my weight. I was barely 20% of the weight on that bed. I was so drunk I couldn't get it up, so I tried finger blasting them both at the same time. Pretty sure I cut one with a fingernail, gave up, and passed out on the floor. He was like flopping around on me. I was like, WTF is happening? And then he kept repeating, "I'm really good when I'm on top, aren't I?" Not going to lie, I just laid there thinking to hurry up and get done. I'm usually a mover, but I just didn't know what to do. Just patted him on the back, haha. Walked out after and never spoke to him again. All these anal stories brought back a funny story. I'm living in Biloxi, Mississippi in the Air Force in the early 2000s. My girlfriend at the time, super cute, and athletic, red-haired Irish girl with a great ass from years of playing soccer. This girl loved the anal, first person I ever met that would ask for it, and be totally sober. We're fucking on my bed doggy style, she reaches between her legs, pulls my dick out of her pussy, and slams into me, balls deep into her ass. All is going well. After a couple of minutes I can't take it anymore and blow everything into her butt. She turns around and says she has to fart and doesn't know what to do. I can see the look on her face, she's panicking, and all I can think of is that I just washed my comforter. I cup my hands behind her butt as she lets out the gnarliest, wettest fart I've ever heard, And blows shit and cum all over my hands, legs, and worst of all, my clean comforter. I loved that comforter. My good friend, who I have been in love with for half of my life or so. The stars finally aligned, we were both single, both feeling it, and after a late night out, it was clear it was on. We head to his room, and he turns into a shitty porn star. "Oh, you like that, you slut, don't you? Take it, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you whore," and smashing like he was trying to bounce me off the bed. I was horrified. Like, dude, I know you. Your mother and I send you selfies when I visit her shop. I've been to your grandma's. That is how people talk in porn, not in real life. My crush was over before he was. Dude had literally no rhythm. He was hot. Just one of my types. Tall, handsome, olive skin, that nice big schnoz Italian type. He'd like, vibrate. I don't know. It was so bad. Even when I tried to take control and get on top, he'd try to regain control and still do this weird erratic jerking around, a movement that was so off-putting. An ex-girlfriend, not an ex at the time, was over, and we started going at it. As young, horny, teenagers do. Anyways, she was sitting on my face, and right as she came, she says to me, "I'm really not enjoying having sex with you anymore." Ouch. To both my self-confidence and my chance of getting off that night. I started out fairly fine. Me, petite, and a slightly taller than me but really skinny guy. He and I had been making out, we'd been in various states of undress, he'd touched my body, done some mouth work over my hips and thighs, etc. It wasn't amazing but it was nice. Turns out he'd taken his underwear off while his face was at my hips. He suddenly held my legs and, without a word, pinned them back, with my knees to around my armpits and my ankles at my ears. I'm just reacting to this with surprise when I see his body revealed. His dick looks at the length of a wooden school ruler. Or something to measure sea depth with. And he just swiftly pushes it all into me with an only slight pause every 2 inches or whatever to snug each bit down. It didn't hurt as such, but it was a kind of, holy shit, feel your body adjusting to being filled with no gaps in one slow push. Just as I started to mentally have a grounding, he withdraws about a third of it and then is all back in again. He did this about 3 times and then moaned really loudly when all the way in, and what feels like a cupful of semen just pours in me. Then he relaxed, looked happy, and sex was all over. Luckily, I was on the pill, but, shit, that went from 50 to 1000 in 12 seconds. This just happened recently. I hadn't had bad sex until then. Met the guy on Tinder and we have a bunch in common, so I agree to smoke with him at his apartment one evening. We're really hitting it off, no awkward silences, constant conversation, all that good stuff. When we went to have sex, he waited about 30 to 45 seconds before completely pulling my pants down and shirt off. Then he takes not 1 but 2 fingers and just starts jabbing them up there over and over again, no preheating of the oven, nothing. Like, I guess this is what he considered foreplay. He pulls them out and leaves a bloody handprint on my thigh, and I'm just like, dude, you made me bleed. And he just apologizes and moves on. He finished pretty quick too, so he goes to get a new condom so we can keep going. It's taking too long and I'm not enjoying any of it, so I just kind of lay there hoping it'll be over soon, and then he looks like he's starting to get tired, so I use that as my out and tell him if he's tired we can stop, so we do. He pulls out and the condom's gone. I have to go into the bathroom and try to fish this rogue condom out of my bloody mess of a vagina. My friends all say I should have left after the bad fingering, and I probably should have. I do still like hanging out with this guy though, since we have so much in common and he's super chill, so I simply told him that I'm going to have to teach him some stuff, because if we're ever going to have sex again, what he did that night is not going to fly ever again. A girl who was a friend of a friend's girlfriend. She was hands down the most attractive sexual partner I've had. The sex was the worst. She did very loud, very fake, very exaggerated moaning that didn't even sync up with my thrusting. She was also super self-conscious, so while she would take off her skirt and panties, she would never take off her shirt. She would just pull it down so her boobs came out, but always kept her tummy covered. I eventually got her fully nude once and couldn't figure out why she was so uncomfortable with it. She also said she loved giving head and turned out to be really bad at it, teeth. Also, she thought her being on top meant just sitting on top of me with my dick in her and then me doing all the work. 2/10. That being said, options were limited at the time. Girl I dated when I first moved to NYC. We dated a while and then things got hot and heavy. We started having sex. About midway through she orgasms and starts crying. Being concerned, I stopped and asked if she was okay. She goes on to a sob story about how she's only been with one guy and that our sex was so intense that she just loves me so much. Then she passes out from crying so much. So here I am, still inside an unconscious girl who just admitted she loved me after 3 dates, stone cold sober mind you, at least I hope she was. I killed my sex drive right then and there. I woke her up and drove her home. I didn't talk to her afterward. During my first one-night stand, I went home with a girl who was passing through town. She was cute but trashy. She started full-on making out with me at this bar like no one else was there. I was 21 at the time and thought it was awesome. I now realize it was not. We ended up going back to her hotel and hooking up everywhere in the room. It should have been hot, but she made no noise. It was like fucking a doll. Then when we were on the bed, shit bit me so hard it broke the skin and scratched my back really bad. I stupidly stayed there that night, and all night all I could think was maybe I just sucked that much in the sack that she had to bite and scratch me. She then extended her stay in town and crept on me for 3 days. Worst idea ever. Slept with a guy, and while we were fucking I angled my head up to try and kiss him. He came to an absolute dead stop and asked, "What are you doing?" in the most horrifying voice. Mood effectively flatlined. Kiss you?" He looked at me in the most condescending way I could ever hope to be seen and said, "That's for before sex." Okay. Then he complained that I had killed his boner, so I got up and got dressed and left. Runner up, the guy who licked my face and asked, "Isn't this sexy? Isn't this so hot? Isn't this just so amazing?" The entire time. Sexy things are way less sexy the more you ask someone if they're sexy. Also runner up, the guy who thought that if he lay on top of me while in me and shook himself really fast, he'd be a human vibrator. Spoiler, he was not. There was a girl I'd see occasionally when we were both single. Hot. Blonde. Runner physique. She was amazing. We'd have a fling, go our separate ways, date a person, sleep around, and always find each other again, and show off our newly discovered sexual interests. One such startling discovery for her was doggy style. Something she had always opposed. We're in the middle of getting down to it when she up off me, pulls down her tiny purple booty shorts and faces away from me on all fours. It's immaculate. Every part of her. I'm eager, too eager. So I decided to take my time, get up behind her, breath in her ear, kiss my way down each and every vertebra, down to that perfectly chiseled ass, and as I kiss my way down further, she farts directly in my eye. She cries, I try and tell her it's okay. She scurries away faster, still on all fours, still farting, and leaves. I never saw her again. Got a horrible case of pink eye, missed 2 days of work, and still haven't heard from her. So that was kind of bad. The super hot guy was a casual friend. We tried to hook up one night when we were both drunk. Turns out we are both on the submissive side of things, but that's not a deal breaker, so we kept trying. Then he went to flip us over all forcefully and smacked me face first into the bookshelf above the bed. We still kept trying. Then, he pulled out and came on the wall. It was my friend's room, so I feel bad about that part. About 15 years or so ago, this chick from the internet flew up to meet up with me from Maryland. I can't imagine that she could even drink from a straw because her blowjob technique lacked any sort of visible resemblance to a living person. I literally went soft. Well, I hooked up with a French girl in a hostel bathroom in Hungary. Decided to go down on her. Usually doesn't gross me out at all, and I actually enjoy doing it most of the time. After about 5 minutes I wiped my mouth and came up for air. She says, "I want you to fuck me, but be slow because you're the first guy I've been with since my abortion." I mean, I still did it, but the mood was killed a little after that. I was dating a beautiful Dutch girl. I'm a small Mexican, so she was way out of my league. She told me one night after a couple of weeks that she wanted to lose her virginity with me. She was 27 back then, so I was a little shocked since in Mexico we start getting it on at a much early age. I told her that she should wait for someone who loved her and made that occasion very special for her, but she insisted, and since she was way out of my league, I decided I would take on this important duty of making this a special and caring moment. So I was really sweet, everything was slow and kind, but she didn't move a muscle. I tried to encourage her to try anything she'd like, but nothing. She was so beautiful but completely still. I didn't go off, pulled out and proceeded to cuddle. She told me it was special for her since I was very careful and sweet. For me, a total bummer. Made love to a 10, she was happy, but for me, it sucked. But hey, a 10 is a 10. I started seeing this girl. She wouldn't give head as she found it gross and never pictured herself doing it. Alright, that's cool, I won't make you do something you aren't into. Vanilla sex, just vanilla. I don't have any kinks, so whatever you want is what I'll do, but vanilla sex gets boring a little. Like she wouldn't try new positions. I go down on her, that's my favorite thing to do. I go down on her for a total of 3 seconds. I have never made a gagging noise before during sex. I played it off so she didn't think it was her fault and we just smooshed instead. Never went down on her again. With a girl who was into the rough stuff. Not like spanking or being choked, but literally wanted me to hit her and scratch her skin until it bled. I said no, I'm not into that, and so she scratched all down my chest, leaving a mark that looked like I had been attacked by Wolverine, then said, "Feels good, doesn't it?" No, it fucking doesn't. Luckily her friend who was being fucked on the bed opposite let out a huge queef, and after I made a joke about it they both got up and left. They returned the next day while we were out and broke in, poured milk all over our clothes, and put the lizard in the freezer. Sad times. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.